What's good, y'all boys? We're back in with another Vivek Ramaswamy video. You know what I'm saying? He's running for president, presidential candidate for next year. He's been saying a lot of stuff that I like. And let's see if he can keep that going. You know what I'm saying? This might be the first time, because of him, like I said it before, but this might be the first time like I actually would enthusiastically vote for somebody. You know, that's not just because of like feeling, I don't know, like people trying to pressure you or mind control, or we have to defeat the big bad Trump, you know, that bullshit. But in my time of being able to vote, yeah, I haven't seen a candidate like this, you know what I'm saying? So this video is it's like a week old, but I just now seen it. Vivek was at a some event on his tour, and a pansexual LGBTQ activist came up and asked him a question. And from what I saw, the way he handled it was very good. It was really good. We're going to see. What's up? If I feel a little bit low energy, it's because I was sick, and I'm still a little bit sick. So, I'm still, trying to grind out these videos, boy. You feel me? Let's go.
I was just wondering, what were your opinions on the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I don't think it's one community.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, how could it be? Just mashed together an alphabet soup. Trans is fundamentally in tension with gay, if you ask me. But what's your opinion?
I'm personally
That's facts. Okay, that's facts.
pansexual, so I was just wondering what your views on same-sex couples were.
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority, we have now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the majority, created a new tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that some...
I see what you're saying, because, a lot of times when you try to talk about certain topics, boy, then people will tear you up just for asking a question, right? Like, you're not having a lot of question shit. That is definitely a tyranny of the minority, where people feel like they have to walk on eggshells or go above and beyond to appeal to a certain crowd. It's like, bro, relax, bro. Relax.
Somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression. And so I believe that we live in a country where free adults should be free to dress how they want, behave how they want, and that's fine. But you don't become oppressive by foisting that on others. And that especially includes kids, because kids aren't the same as adults. And so I think adults are free to make whatever choices they want, but do not foist that ideology onto children before children are in a position as adults to make decisions for themselves. And so I think a lot of the frustration in the country, and if I'm being really...
So he's really saying a lot of common sense stuff, bro. But, nowadays it seems like saying something that's common sense will get you canceled.
honest that I also share comes from that new culture of oppression where saying those things can actually get somebody punished. And in my case, it's part of why it's my responsibility to say them. And I respect that you may have a different opinion, and that's okay. Part of what makes our country great is that you and I can be civil and have this conversation, and that we live in a country that still gives us, each of us, the right to speak to a presidential candidate and back, and still say that we pledge allegiance to the same nation. So I think that's the beauty of our country, and that's my honest opinion.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your civility as well. I appreciate it.
Ah, there you go. See, it was very calm, very rational, very nice conversation. She didn't really have any more other questions. I wonder who she worked for, like what she write down. But yeah, just look, they say massively turns the tables. Yeah, he didn't really turn the tables. He was just talking, nothing crazy. I wanted to watch this. It was him on CNN with Jim Acosta. This is more recent. It's like 2 days ago. And from the little clips of it that I saw, it seemed very interesting. I'm like, yeah, I got to react to that. Because I was like,
Tougher. And if they don't, they're not going to have much of a Republican Party.
Well, they haven't been very tough on Donald Trump. And one of the Republicans who is defending Trump is Vivek Ramaswamy. And today, a memo from Ron DeSantis' super PAC laid out some advice for the Florida governor ahead of next week's debate. Among the suggestions, defend Donald Trump, but, quote, take a sledgehammer to Ramaswamy.
Whoa.
And joining me now is the candidate.
Is DeSantis scared of Ramaswamy? Whoa. Is he scared of Vivek?
Candidate mentioned in that memo, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's giving a speech at the Nixon Library tonight. Welcome, Mr. Ramaswamy. Appreciate you joining us.
Listen, there's one thing. It's just like, bro, running a presidential campaign must be so exhausting, bro. Because so many eyes are on you. The nation's eyes are on you. People that are for you, people that are against you, people that are just questioning you, their eyes are on you. You can't really, you got to try your best not to slip up. You know what I'm saying? Not to have any goofs. You got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to go around the country and then talk and sometimes say some of the same stuff every day. Whew. It's exhausting, bro. It's exhausting. So anybody's doing that, you know, you got to give some respect, especially Vivek. Vivek is hustling, boy. He hustling.
It's good to see you, Jim. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, let's get right to this. A pro-DeSantis super PAC, I'm sure you've seen this, has posted documents online that show DeSantis' upcoming debate strategy, and that includes not only attacks on President Biden as well as media, but instructions to, quote, hammer Ramaswamy. Are you preparing to be hammered?
You know, I have been prepared for that for a lot of my life, and I'm prepared to take that on. The truth is I'm an outsider in this race, and I think that that is threatening a lot of the professional politicians, understandably. A guy like me is not supposed to be in this race, according to their book. I'm approaching my debate strategy a little bit differently. I think many times if you don't have a message...
He's going to say approach with the truth. That's what he's going to say.
You look to attack other candidates. I'm preferring to stand for my own message, asking the question, what are we running to? And I think if we're guided by that purpose, the attacks from the other candidates are not going to stop me.
And the latest Fox polling shows you've gained ground, more ground since June than any other candidate.
Dang. Okay, so let's see. June and now. June and now. Shouldn't they put, it's kind of weird how they put that. They should have put now on this side and June on this side. But okay, so June. What is this from, though? What is this? Okay. Oh, it's right there. No, it's not. All right. 56. Trump went down 3 points. DeSantis went from 22 to 16. Vivek went from 5 to 11. Pence went from 4 to 5. Haley 3 to 4. Christie 1 to 3. Tim Scott went down. Okay.
Why are you gaining ground while candidates like Ron DeSantis are struggling to catch on?
I think the reality is I'm unconstrained in speaking the truth. There are many forces at work in both political parties, in the establishment of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party alike, that constrains what candidates can actually say. A lot of that comes from the donor class. In the Republican Party, you have a lot of super PAC puppets. I'm not one of them. I am a patriot who speaks the truth. I am independent. I am putting my own money into this campaign precisely to avoid taking a tin can with a hat in hand, asking a bunch of donors for permission to run. And I think that's a very different model from many of the other professional politicians in this race. And the good news is voters across our country, in our base, they can tell the difference between somebody who's actually sharing their own convictions versus somebody who's parroting off talking points served up to them 15 minutes or 15 days before a debate. I think the reality is also the message of my campaign is resonating. Shut down the administrative state, declare independence from China, grow the economy, revive national pride, revive our national identity itself. We as conservatives, we can't just be complacent with criticizing the radical Biden agenda.
I like that. I like that he says that because something that a lot of people say, I saw someone say it recently, I don't remember who it was though, where it's like, for a lot of Republicans, you see what they criticize. You see what they don't like, okay? They don't like abortion. They don't like trans people in sports. But what do they like? What do they want? What are they trying to push? You know what I'm saying? You see more of what they don't like and less of what they do want. So that's why I like Vivek, because he's openly talking about what his plans are, what he's trying to do.
Boring. It's trite.
It's nice and clear and concise.
At a certain point in time, we have to stand for a vision of our own. And I think I'm the only candidate who's actually offering that. I think that's a big part of why we've been successful.
Well, you've got a big test coming up with next week's debate, and 8 candidates, including yourself, have met the donor and polling threshold for that debate. You've signed the loyalty pledge. Former President Donald Trump has refused to sign the pledge. Are you okay with Trump getting special treatment?
What's the loyalty pledge? What's that?
Shouldn't he have to play by the rules?
I expect Trump to be on that debate stage later this fall, and I expect him to play by the same set of rules of everybody else, but I am fine with him missing the first couple of debates. He's been on that debate stage many times over. Heck, he was president for 4 years. For me, this is an opportunity to introduce myself to the country. I'm looking forward to that. Many people don't yet know who I am, or don't really know certainly very well who I am. And so that's the opportunity I'm looking forward to. I do expect President Trump to show up down the line, but I think it's fair game for him to miss the first couple.
What if he doesn't sign that pledge, just refuses to sign it? Does he get a pass on that?
Look, I think if that's a condition to make the debate stage, then I think he's going to sign that pledge to make the debate stage. But the reality is, I believe he's waiting, based on his public comments at least, it seems like he's waiting for a smaller field. So I look forward to being on that debate stage with him. But for now, I'm focused on the path to next Wednesday. I'm in 8 states in the period heading up to between now and the debate stage. But I'm looking forward to introducing myself to the people of this country and hopefully drawing some important policy contrasts from the rest of the field. I think this is an important moment for the GOP to stop obsessing over the who. There's been so much obsession over Donald Trump or somebody else. Forget the who for a second. Let's first focus on who we are, but what do we stand for and why we stand for it. That's a discussion we actually haven't had in the GOP for a very long time. And I think this debate stage is actually going to be good for the evolution of our party, really defining our agenda rather than devolving into biographical brawls, even though certain other candidates say Ron DeSantis and his super PAC want him to go the direction of the biographical brawl. I prefer to go in the direction of substance, answering what we stand for and why. That's what's going to make our party stronger.
You know, as each day passes by, you know, I think more and more that DeSantis should just not run for president and just stay as governor, okay? Just mind your business, take care of Florida.
Well, I think the former president is going to come up at the debate, whether he's there or not, and he's now facing his 4th criminal indictment, this time in Georgia on forgery, false statements, election fraud, and racketeering charges. You have said that these are political or politicized prosecutions, politicized persecutions through prosecution. Let's listen to what his former attorney general is saying about this.
Who's that?
People who defend him say that he genuinely did feel that he was robbed, and this was the good fight and the proper fight.
Well, even if he did, and I am dubious about that, but even if he believed that, that doesn't mean you can use illegal means to rectify it. If you think the bank is unfairly keeping your money, there are many things you can do to get it back. You can't go and rob the bank.
Yeah, what's your response to the former attorney general?
Look, I think there are deep legal flaws with this case. I'm talking to you from the Nixon Presidential Library, where I'm delivering a speech later tonight. We'll look at Nixon versus Fitzgerald. This is something that the press has altogether ignored. A president's acts while in office are something that he actually enjoys immunity for, other than through the impeachment process. So if he believes, even incorrectly, that he was looking after election fraud, that alone could be a defense. I also think there are deep due process failures. Let's start with the fact that they actually, Fulton County, publicly posted the charges of...
Yo, they hate this dude. I ain't gonna lie to you. They hate this dude, bro, because he sounds very intelligent. He seems to be very intelligent. He seems to know what he's talking about. So it's very hard for CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream media to pin him on stuff, because he knows what he's talking about, and he knows how to, let's say if they're trying to trap him, he knows how to get out the traps. He can see that it's a trap, and he sees that, you know, they want him to say a certain thing to try to paint him in a certain way. He's not letting it go. He's not letting them do it. He's not letting them have their way, because he knows what he's talking about. And it's not even just about that. It's, you know, it seems that what he's talking about, there's a basis of truth behind it, right? Because yes, it seems that he's been on the defense of Trump, right? And I can't really argue with a lot of stuff he's saying, because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't really follow the indictments and stuff they've been doing. I just know that it seems weird. I need to dive deeper into it, though. I just be busy, bro. So, you know, I'm just listening with open ears and seeing what's up. But I just got to acknowledge that he knows how to get out of all them traps they try to get him into.
The indictment, even before the grand jury had signed them. That's a grave prosecutorial, bushy-tailed, overexcited mistake. That's a due process violation that itself could be grounds for a motion to dismiss. We also have to look at this prosecution in the context of the fact that there are 3 others, now 4 prosecutions in a series of months, all convening around a presidential election that sets a god-awful precedent, Jim, for this country. We do not want to become a nation where the party in power uses multiple different legal cases at the same time, pushing untested novel legal theories to knock out its opposition in the middle of a presidential election. That is not how we do things in the United States of America. and I say this as somebody who in many national polls is now polling second, it would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition.
Yep.
That is not how I want to win. I stand on the side of principle, not politics.
There are now 4 different
when I say
indictments.
we need to unite this country.
Yeah, let me jump in. There have been 4 different indictments. You don't think he's committed any crimes in any of these indictments?
I don't think any of the indictments have demonstrated that he committed a crime. No, and I've written on the pages of the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere wearing a technical legal hat, and you and I can go into that detail if you're
refusing
interested.
to return
but
classified
I think these are
documents?
clearly politically motivated. Well, it's just...
The thing about the documents thing that's funny to me is that, I mean, I don't know, whatever. You know, Hillary Clinton didn't get in trouble for all them emails that she deleted when they were subpoenaed on them, and then she deleted them and wiped their servers. And then I think the office caught on fire or some shit. They didn't press her ass about this shit, but they pressed him about some documents, whatever, that he took home. Okay, and what was he about to do with them? I didn't see nothing where they said that he was going to, like, sell them or something. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's the big deal.
Take that one as an example. That indictment made zero mention of the Presidential Records Act, the most recently passed act that relates to a president, including an outgoing president's access to documents. The fact that this is a 49-page indictment, that was silent on that fact, reveals smacks of politicization. I also think that the fact that they used the Espionage Act, one of the most un-American acts in U.S. history, that has been used to round up anti-war activists, that was used to lock up Eugene V. Debs when he ran for
president. But do you think it's okay to have classified documents? You think it's okay for you to have classified documents laying around the Ramaswamy household?
No, it's not. But I think that there's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And the Presidential Records Act expressly gives the U.S. president access to those records.
And he didn't return them. They asked for the documents back.
Again, I would have made very different judgments.
Yeah.
Look, Jim, I am running in the same race that Donald Trump is. So I'm not saying that every judgment he made was the same judgment I would make. In fact, it wasn't. But that is different from charging it as a crime, which I think sets an awful precedent in our country. If you want to get a little technical
about it, in the federal
election
case, he lied about the election. He tried to overturn the election results. Why not call him out for that as well?
I will remind you the Supreme Court's precedent in Alvarez, a 2012 case, which held that public officials, including politicians, have a First Amendment right to lie, to tell the truth, to even make statements they didn't believe, let alone the fact that there isn't a shred of evidence to suggest that Trump didn't even believe his own claims. And so we can get into the legal technical details all we want. That's going to happen in the courtroom. But as a matter of judgment, as somebody who is running to and expects to be the next president of the United States, my top job is to reunite this country. And my way of doing that is going to be to pardon Donald Trump on day one and to pardon really anybody else who was also the victim of a politically motivated persecution through prosecution. We have to move forward as a country. And I think this sets a dangerous precedent unless we actually pardon.
They do try to use Trump as like distraction fuel so much, bro. I've talked about this before, and I said it. I say it all the time. When he was president, they talked about this man every single day. It's like, bro, stop it. You know, you're obviously like, it's always gonna make people feel like you're trying to hide something. You're trying to push a certain idea because you keep talking about this man every day off the littlest thing. Oh, look, he's golfing. Oops. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was on vacation or golfing, whatever, while Hawaii was being burnt down. And they asked him about it. He said, no comment, no comment. He got nothing to say. What are you doing about Hawaii? But then are they pushing that? If it was Trump, they would have been going crazy about this shit. They would have been slandering all day long on every channel for 24/7. But it's Joe Biden, they don't say nothing. So when they do open acts of hypocrisy like that, people notice. And then when people notice, they start questioning things. When people start questioning things, they start losing trust in you. You can't be surprised when people question your ass. You're doing weird shit. Stop being weird.
But Mr. Ramaswamy, you just said you want to wait for all the details, the technical details to come out at trial. But you're declaring beforehand that you would pardon him. Why not listen for the facts to come out at trial and then make that determination?
I'm saying it based on one assumption. The assumption is that the statements in each of the indictments are the most prosecution favorable statements we're going to get. Any legal scholar would tell you that is a fair assumption. Okay. In any case, the prosecution always puts...
Look at that. He tried to get him. Tried to get him again. Oh, well, you just said you want to wait for the facts. So why aren't you waiting for the facts if you say you're going to pardon him? Well, I'm basing off what they put out. That was the most, the most, set standard or whatever. I'm telling you, boy, this boy know how to get out of traps easy, bruh. That shit crazy.
Up its strongest foot in the indictment itself. We haven't even heard from the defense. So yes, if there are gaping surprises that come up, I mean, there's zero evidence to suggest that Trump was selling those secrets to foreign adversaries for private gain. But if those facts come up, of course, I would revisit my judgment. But the fact of the matter is the prosecution obviously makes the most aggressive statement of its case in the indictment. And assuming that's the case here, as it is in any other case, I will absolutely pardon Trump on day one, January 20th, 2025, when I'm in office.
Would you pardon Trump's other alleged co-conspirators in both the documents and the election cases?
It depends on how the facts match up to the law. I mean, you don't take about the documents case. There are special features of the law that apply to a U.S. president. Literally, the Presidential Records Act treats past U.S. presidents.
But why say you would pardon Trump on day one, but not? But why say you're going to pardon Trump on day one, but not make that kind of blanket promise to the alleged co-conspirators?
Well, because the co-conspirators themselves, they weren't president. So, he said it'll depend on what the legality of it is. Is there any legal precedent that would defend them? Yes or no?
Shouldn't they get that kind of same pardon offer?
I'm favorably inclined. I'm favorably inclined to do it. But right now, I'm a competitor against Donald Trump in this primary, and I want to be very clear on the side of principle, though it's against my interest in this race. That's why I think in the interest of uniting this country, it is especially important to be clear about that fact. I expect to maybe making tens of pardons on day one. I think there are countless Americans who have been the victims of politically motivated persecutions through prosecution. Peaceful protesters on January 6th, January 6th defendants who actually have had constitutional due process violations. Julian Assange.
Look how quick they were with the headline, boy. Favorably inclined to pardon Giuliani.
Just someone I've specifically identified as somebody I would absolutely pardon. Ross Ulbricht, Douglas Mackey, others. But I think that the only way we're going to move forward as a country, there can be no reconciliation without truth. We have to put that past behind us. And my top job is going to be to heal the wounds of this nation, to lead us forward. Because even look at the conversation
pardoning Trump is going to heal the wounds. Pardoning Trump is going to heal the wounds of the nation.
I do.
This man is so mad, bro. That Jim Acosta dude, this dude is mad. From what I've seen, I guess he really hates Trump, I guess.
I do think it will be a step towards healing the wounds of the nation. I think there are deep wounds in this country that are the consequence of systematic censorship.
They did it again, look.
Weaponization of police force to accomplish political goals through the justice system. That is wrong. This is not an easy project ahead for the next president. I am in this race because I do see a lot of candidates on both sides motivated by vengeance and grievance. I am motivated by leading this nation forward. And the way we're going to do it is by restoring one standard of the rule of law for all Americans, restore the integrity of the justice system, and leave politics to politics. The people of this country should decide who the next president is. They're free to take into account all of the information that has been laid out by left-wing media, right-wing media, etc., to make their decisions. If they didn't think Donald Trump made good decisions, then they should take that into account when voting him out.
Boy, this is not the Jim Acosta show, bro. Every time Vivek goes somewhere, it becomes the Vivek Ramaswamy show. It becomes the Vivek Ramaswamy show. Okay? It's not Jim Acosta's show no more. It's not his program no more. It's his.
But that is not the basis for a prosecution.
What about Trump making these threats and making these kinds of inflammatory comments about the judge, about the special counsel?
Why don't they say it, though? If you're in an argument about Trump, why'd you say what he said? You're saying, what about these comments that he made? You're keeping it vague. Why are you being vague for? Just say it.
And so on in some of these cases. Do you defend that? Should he knock that off?
So I'm not familiar with the specific nature of which inflammatory comment you're referring to or not. He's clearly deeply aggrieved by the fact that he's being prosecuted through 4 separate cases that have arisen at the same time in the middle of an election. Again, from my vantage point, I would make very different judgments and would have made very different judgments than Donald Trump. But that is a different point than saying this should be criminalized. That's where I'm at. So I'm not in this to defend.
Isn't it crazy that they spent like 15 minutes talking about Trump? This is what I mean. They don't ask him nothing about his policies. They don't ask him nothing about the other things he wants to do. He's focusing on Trump. Trump.
He says, I'm coming after you.
Anybody
You're
else.
coming
I'm in this
after
to
me.
defend the nation.
But you've heard him say, you've heard how he said, I'm coming after you if you come after me. I mean, you've heard that, correct? Is that appropriate?
I mean, if he means that he's going to file a motion, if he means he's going to file a motion to dismiss, then he should absolutely file a motion to dismiss, which I think will be very embarrassing for the prosecutor and, frankly, very embarrassing for the entire
you don't think that that's
law
what he means
enforcement
when he
apparatus,
says that?
if that's indeed granted.
But you don't think that's what he means when he says that?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I have not.
Isn't there a threatening undertone there?
You've clearly studied every word. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you, Jim. I have not read the specific tweet or social media post that you're referring to. I'm running for president. I'm looking at reviving our economy and declaring independence from China. I'm not parsing every social media post from every one of my other candidates. But broadly speaking, my whole point is there's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And the moment that we conflate
a lot of crimes
the
start
two,
with bad judgments,
that
don't
is
they?
the moment that we have a threat to liberty.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, but you actually have to have committed a crime to be prosecuted for one. So making a very bad judgment as a politician, that's a basis for a voter to make a decision. But that's how we've got to do things in the United States of America. We have to let the people of this country decide who actually runs the country, not a federal administrative police state. And I just think that sets a dangerous and deeply problematic precedent in this country. And that is why I've been so vocal against it. That is why I'm clearly committed to pardoning Donald Trump if he is convicted.
But you said earlier you would wait for the facts to come out. If there are some big surprises, you may...
See, look, he's just repeating himself.
You may reconsider that.
My assumption is that the worst statement of the facts, the most favorable version of the facts...
All right.
And I said that on...
They're repeating themselves now because he doesn't know what else to say. Jim Acosta.
I made my commitment that was my assumption.
Let's talk about China. You talked about China.
Okay, thank you.
You proposed to radio host Hugh Hewitt this week that the U.S. should help Taiwan deter a Chinese invasion until the U.S. has achieved, quote, semiconductor independence. Does it really serve our long-term interest to say we support territorial integrity until a country is no longer useful to us?
I think that moving from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity is actually a good thing for the United States to both advance our interests and to avoid war, as well as to be a more trusted partner. I don't think it's credible when we make hollow proclamations to defend democracy or to defend territorial sovereignty as a principle when, in fact, we choose that principle selectively anyway. I think it's far more credible for us to be honest, to say that I will, as the next U.S. president, I stand for advancing American interests, period. That allows...
I think Taiwan is where they make a lot... It's one of the biggest producers of I think chips of something. I don't have it on the top of my head, but I know they're a big producer in like a lot of certain technology that America and other countries could use. Taiwan is close to China, so China is like, they're kind of like looming. It's like a looming threat. They want to take over that motherfucker, boy. But America doesn't want that to happen.
Allows other nations to actually trust us. Just as we can trust them to follow their self-interest, they can trust us to follow ours.
But are you setting a signal that an allied...
neoconservatism or liberal hegemony...
But are you sending a signal that an allied democracy could be taken over by another power just because they're no longer making something that we need?
Well, let's get real, Jim. I mean, the fact of the matter is our current posture towards Taiwan is that the U.S. embraces the one China policy in the status quo. The standard protocol is a U.S. president isn't even supposed to pick up a phone call from the leader of Taiwan. In fact, when Trump did it, they laughed at him as though he was an outsider rube. And so the reality is that line of reasoning that somehow you're now going to call them an allied nation selectively to push back on my vision of strategic clarity is just a farce and betrays exactly what our current posture is in the first place. What I'm bringing to our foreign policy is honesty that will advance our interests. I'm moving from strategic ambiguity to be strategically very clear that we will defend Taiwan until we achieve semiconductor independence. I expect that to happen by the end of my first term, by 2028.
But then China can have
that,
Taiwan?
Our commitments necessarily will change.
But then China can have Taiwan?
To be clear, after that, by being clear, not necessarily. What that really means is Taiwan, between now and then, can actually spend what it should be spending on national defense. Taiwan spends less than 2% of GDP on its military. That is shameful. Taiwan needs to be spending over 4% of its own.
So what, they just relying on America to defend them? That's
GDP.
crazy.
But by being strategically clear, we give Taiwan a chance to build up its own defense capabilities. And China will also know that it is absolutely not in China's interest, not any rational actor in China would want to make that move before 2028. In the meantime, what am I going to do? Achieve semiconductor independence for our nation and also build up our own homeland defense capabilities. That's something that's badly lacking. Super EMP defenses, cyber defenses, nuclear missile defenses. But if we're at that point by 2028, along with semiconductor independent, then no, I don't expect to want to send our sons and daughters in this country to die to fight over somebody else's territorial dispute. And I think that that's exactly what this Chinese Civil War dating back to 1949 was all about. There are two reasons why China might go after Taiwan. One is to lord over an economic gun over the United States. I refuse to let that happen. But a second is sorting out business dating back to 1949 between Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong. That's not something that I'm going to send our sons and daughters to settle.
And you've also suggested that Vladimir Putin be allowed to keep parts of Ukraine as part of a way to solve that conflict. What if he wants parts of Poland?
You leave
next?
out the most important part of that deal.
More of Ukraine next.
Aren't
you letting some of these authoritarian leaders off the
what
hook?
actually advances? Far from it. I think that the Biden administration is so stubbornly attached to the idea of getting Xi Jinping to drop Vladimir Putin. What I think we need to be doing is get Vladimir Putin to drop Xi Jinping. Just like Nixon went to China in 1972, I think Putin is like the new Mao. I will visit Moscow, and I will pull Russia out of its military alliance with China. The Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest military threat that we face today. Hypersonic missile capabilities, nuclear capabilities in Russia.
I think that's facts.
Far ahead of us or China. A naval capacity in China ahead of ours, combined with an economy that we depend on for our modern way of life. Those two nations are in a military alliance with one another, and nobody in either political party is talking about it. Worst of all, our engagement in Ukraine is further driving Russia into China's arms. So my foreign policy centers on weakening that alliance. That advances American interests.
But you would let Putin have
that
parts
is how
of
we
Ukraine.
actually secure peace.
Oh my gosh, he ignore everything that. This is what I hate, and I seen it on the Breakfast Club with Larry Elder. Right, if y'all saw it, they don't engage. These people don't engage with the main bulk of an argument or an issue. They just choose one specific part and keep repeating it over and over again. With Larry Elder, what was Charlemagne doing? Oh, what do white people do wrong? What about white people? What about white people? You're not talking about white people. We're talking about black people and black issues. Why are you bringing up white people? This right here. He talking about how the effects of Russia and China working together would be bad for America in the long term. Okay, and his focus is on destabilizing that relationship. What did he say? Oh, but you let Putin have Ukraine, huh? You let him have Ukraine, huh? Like, bro, come on, bro. Shut up.
But you would let Putin have
would
parts of Ukraine.
Freeze the current lines. I would freeze the current lines of control, and that would leave parts of the Donbass region with Russia. I would also further make a commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO. But there are even greater wins that I will get for the United States in return. The top of the list. No, our goal should not be for Putin to lose. Our goal should be for America to win. That's what we have forgotten in this country, is that driving Russia into the ground is not a U.S. strategic goal. A U.S. strategic goal is to secure peace and prosperity for Americans.
Look at that. Look at that quote. Our goal should not be for Putin to lose.
And so, you know what? I do think many of those military resources being used to protect against an invasion across somebody else's border halfway around the world should be used to protect against the invasion across our own southern border right here at home. And
the thing about Vivek, I've never seen Trump be able to articulate certain shit like this, bro. You know, he just says what's on top of his mind and he's funny with it, but it's like, okay, what are we doing? That's one of the things that I think everyone can appreciate about Vivek, that he says what he's going to do, he explains it, and he'll explain it 100 different ways for you until you understand it.
Meantime, yes, we need to pull Russia apart from China instead of driving Russia further into China's hands. And I think that we have a foreign policy establishment in both parties, frankly, Republican Party and Democratic Party alike, that behaves as though we're still in the Cold War of the last century, forgetting that the USSR does not exist anymore and that the real threat we face today is communist China, which is that much stronger when Vladimir Putin is in Xi Jinping's camp.
All right, Vivek Ramaswamy, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Let's look at the comments real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Ramaswamy is 100% correct. Love listening to Ramaswamy. Very intelligent, factual, logical. I'm hoping Trump brings him into his administration. So glad CNN has him speaking so that the other half of the country can be exposed to his brilliance. I'm a registered Democrat. My vote is for Vivek to save this nation and next generation. I've never seen a cheaper candidate than DeSantis. Ramaswamy is not defending Trump, but Trump's right to justice under the law, which in turn means he's defending the right to justice for every American citizen. Well, I'm surprised CNN let this get out. They're trying hard to make him look bad. Ramaswamy is the most intelligent. Yeah. If Vivek doesn't win, it's the biggest loss for Americans. It's crazy how these are people who are lifetime traditional Democrat voters who are hearing Vivek speak and getting behind them. There are also people who look to Trump as... That's the thing. A lot of people, I think, out of demographics, right? Some of the people that I see the most that have more understanding of like foreign relations and more geopolitical stuff are like older people, of course, older men, and a lot of older white men. So that includes people that are Democrats, right? So the fact that he's speaking so intelligently and eloquently about Russia and China, I think that's going to speak to a lot of older male Democrats who care about the country. And that's going to resonate with them. Especially since they've been through a lot of the history, you know what I'm saying? They've been through multiple wars. They, you know, a lot of older men, they've been through Vietnam, they've been through all that shit, right? The war on terror, they've seen all this. So they have a little bit more understanding of foreign policy and geopolitics compared to someone my age or the other young people. A lot of the Gen Z, some of the millennials, you know what I mean? So I think it's really good. It's really good. But yeah, man, that's another video. You know, Vivek been snapping, boy, been snapping. The Republican debate is on Wednesday, 2 days from now. At the time of me filming this, boy, I wonder how that's gonna go. I might try to figure out how to live stream. If I can live stream it and watch it, I'm gonna do it. But hey, man, that was the video. You know, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.